Welcome back, everybody. This is Michael Leveris from JurisQ.com, where we bring you different attorneys, different practice areas, different states to talk about legal FAQs, frequently asked questions on their practice areas. And today we welcome back Alla Kurolapnik, a divorce attorney with a focus on mediation. Alla, always a pleasure to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you, Michael. Nice to be back with you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Alla, I want to talk about today big vision picture in a divorce, because we understand that when a divorce commences, parties are extremely heated. There's a lot of passion involved, and sometimes you do things to even spite, in spite to hurt somebody else, and not for practical considerations. So let's talk about how mediation can lessen that impact, and how mediation can, like you said, lets you see the whole forest and not just the trees. Sorry to steal your phrase, but go with it.
So, look, as a divorce professional, whether I'm involved in litigation or whether I'm mediating a divorce case, my philosophy is, twofold. First of all is don't get stuck on the little things, because if this is what's holding, value, put a value, whether it's time, money, or emotional energy on the thing itself that's holding up the end, right? So if you're fighting over a $5,000 in a divorce where $5 million is being split,
Right.
that's just not it's just not worth it, because you're going to spend more money on your lawyers and on mediation costs and more emotional time, real time and emotional time. Absolutely. On this one little issue. So have the ability, right? And some people do and some people don't. It depends where you are in the process, and it depends, I've always said in the divorce, there's always someone who's more aggrieved than the other, or they feel that way, right? Because usually in a lot of these cases, one person has had the time to process in their mind that they want to leave the other spouse. And sometimes that revelation is sprung up on the other spouse and they don't have time to process it. So any decisions they're going to make are going to be very different than the person who's known for quite some time.
So it's more emotional. So I was doing more emotional rather than rational, right?
So it's my job as a divorce professional, whether I'm litigating or mediating, is to be able to show my clients that there's some victories that are simply empty, or to hold up the finality over, over a number, right? A value of something. And I keep holding up my hand because it's really boils down to like, whatever you want to, whether it's a pen or whether it's a phone or something else, this is what's holding it up. Then value this. What is the value of this versus the value of that? And once you can see that, you'll be able to understand. So that's one of the, in the big picture, right? The other big picture that I like for my clients, whether I'm doing mediation or litigation, to see is really, let's project 5 years into the future. So let's get you an agreement that kind of addresses things so that you're not running back to court for enforcement or for violations. And so to minimize the continued fighting in the future. Now, we spoke about one of these things already in one of our prior sessions, which is the, working with a parent coordinator. So for instance, what I would include in my agreements, right? If whether I'm drafting as an attorney from a litigation perspective, or whether I'm doing it through mediation, is especially when you have a situation where there's joint custody arrangements, joint access, and I can tell that it's a high conflict family, right? When it comes to children, the best thing I can do for both these people is recommend that they utilize a parent coordinator in their agreement, because that saves them the time and the money in the future of going back to court to having the judge decide that.
Yeah, please go back to our prior sessions for anybody who's watching this. where we talked about the benefit of using parent coordinator in a high conflict situation.
That's right. And
Yeah.
I also like to, again, look at like realistically how something is going to get I guess divided, because a lot of times people come to me and say, well, this is just an easy case, right? We're going to take this property, we're all going to keep it in both our names, we're going to, but someone's going to live there, nothing's going to be done with it. And I said, okay, but think about it 5 years from the future, what's going to happen? So
Exactly.
one of you dies, then what happens to the
Yes.
other person's share of it? Where does it go, right? Or what happens when you want to sell and the other party doesn't want to sell, right? I go, so these are the kind of things you have to be able to have the foresight to
Yeah.
see, beyond the
Yeah.
trees and the
And
forest, right?
I want to add, right now, let's say people are divorcing, it's just two of them. Down the road, there could be another third party, somebody's boyfriend, girlfriend, new wife, new husband, and you bet they're gonna have their own input on what happens with the property or some kind of arrangement. So you're perfectly right. You have to pre-envision those things, right? And create a roadmap of how to go forward without running to court every time, which is
That's right.
very
And
costly and stressful.
I'll give you another issue. So on the custody front, so I often find it very useful to put into my agreements that how do both parents, when there's children involved, how do both parents plan to introduce a significant other to their children?
Okay,
The
interesting.
timing, whether or not they're going to use a third party involved, because again, inevitably, that will be, exactly to your point, that will be a point of contention in the future.
You know what? This is such an important topic, comes up all the time. I would love to have with you a separate session just on that. Alla, can we do that?
Of
Because
course.
that's super interesting for people, because you can put in your legal input, but also you've seen so many cases, you may have practical suggestions on how to introduce new boyfriend, new girlfriend into child's life, right?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Very good. Alla, you gave us a great overview of why it's important to have this grand vision. I would call it being a visionary in the divorce and not being stuck on today, not being stuck on little things. And a great tool for that is use of mediators. And Alla, this is what you are a big proponent of. And if anybody is considering a divorce or going through a contentious divorce right now, you may want to call Alla Kurolapnik and get an opinion whether using mediation is right for you. Alla, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for watching. We're going to come back in our next session with a very, very interesting topic that comes up very often, and that is cheating. We've talked about cheating before. Cheating is unfortunately a big keyword that appears in many divorce proceedings, right? And we're going to talk about whether cheating affects child custody. All right, stay tuned. Until next time. Thank you.